Hey class, today we're going to learn how to subtract rational numbers. So I'm just going to use the note sheet that you could have either printed or have in the packet that I gave you in school. So it's this note sheet. That way we can all be looking at the same sheet. So from now on I'm just going to use the note pages. So looking at the top, when we subtract rational numbers, we're actually going to use our same rules for adding rational numbers. So remember that our rules for adding rational numbers are if they are the same sign, we're going to add and keep the sign. If they have different signs, we're going to subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. So let's look at some examples of subtracting rational numbers. So our first example says negative 6.5 minus 2. So I'm going to circle all of my negatives and underline my positives. So this is a negative 6.5, and this minus 2 is like a negative 2, right? Minus 2 and negative 2 are the same thing. So I'm going to view it as a negative 2. So that means we have a negative 6.5 and a negative 2. So they are both negative, so our signs are the same. And when our signs are the same, we add and keep the sign. So we're going to do 6.5 plus 2, which is 8.5. And then we keep the sign that they have in common. So they were both negative, so our answer is negative. So your final answer is negative 8.5. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 says 1 1/2 minus 2. So we have a positive 1 1/2 and then a minus 2 or a negative 2. So on this one, our signs are different. So when our signs are different, we're going to subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. So we're going to do on the side 2 minus 1 1/2. So this is like having 0 out of 2 up here. Well, 0 minus 1 we can't do, so we're going to have to borrow, so that 2 becomes a 1. And then we added 1 whole to our fraction. Well, 1 whole, when we have a denominator of 2, 1 whole is 2 out of 2. So the 0 out of 2 plus the 2 out of 2 gives me 2 out of 2, so our numerator is now 2. And 2 minus 1 is 1, keep the denominator. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So when I do 2 minus 1/2, we're left with 1/2. And our larger number is 2, which is negative, so my answer is negative. So final answer is negative 1/2. Now you don't have to write out the subtraction like I did on the right. You can think about it logically, right? 2 minus 1 is 1. And then minus the 1/2, 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2. So it's up to you how you want to write out that subtraction. All right, number 3 is a word problem. It says the temperature on a thermometer on Monday was 3.5 degrees Celsius. The temperature on Thursday was 5.25 degrees less than the temperature on Monday. What was the temperature on Thursday? So on Monday it was 3.5 and Thursday's was 5.25 less than that. So we're going to subtract 5.25 or 5 25 hundredths. So now we have 3.5 minus 5.25. So that's a positive 3.5, and you can view it as a negative or a minus 5.25. So the signs are different, so we are going to subtract. So we're going to do 5.25 minus 3.5. Remember when you subtract decimals that your decimals need to be lined up. And you can add any 0 placeholders to help you. So now starting at the right, we have 5 minus 0 is 5. We can't do 2 minus 5, so we're going to have to borrow from the 1s, so that 5 becomes a 4. And that 2 now becomes a 12. So now 12 minus 5 is 7. and then 4 minus 3 is 1. So when we subtracted, we got 1.75, and now we need to figure out our sign. Well, 5.25 is larger than 3.5, and that larger number is negative, so our answer is negative. So the temperature on Thursday was negative 1.75 degrees Celsius. You can also view it if you're the one that likes doing the teams. We have a positive team and a negative team. So we have 3.5 positives and 5.25 negatives. So who's winning? The negatives. And by how much? 1.75. All right, now I want you to try numbers 1 through 3 on the screen. And then when you are ready, hit continue to check your answers. All right, take a moment, pause the video, check your answers with my answers. If you got it wrong, go over my work and see if you can get your mistake. If not, be sure to contact me during class or outside of class to ask me questions. All right, now we're moving to the back side of the note page, the other page, and we're going to look at what happens when we end up subtracting a negative. So when we have subtracting a negative, that forms that double negative that we have. So when we subtract a negative, we want to rewrite it as adding a positive. So when we have a double negative, we're going to make it a positive or a plus. Then you're going to follow the rules for adding rational numbers like we just did. If the signs are the same, add and keep the sign. If the signs are different, subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So let's take a look at our first example. So number 1 says 0.25 minus negative 1.5. Well, we have subtracting a negative or a double negative. So that's going to become one big positive or plus. So now our problem becomes 0.25 plus 1.5. So now we have a positive and a positive. Our signs are the same, so we're going to add and keep the sign. So you're going to do 1.50 plus 0.25. And of course, you get 1.75. And they were both positive, so your answer is positive. On number 2, we have negative 1/2 minus negative 3/4. So again, we are subtracting a negative, so we need to make it one big positive. You're basically taking the opposite of negative 3/4, which is positive 3/4. Now we have a negative 1/2 and a positive 3/4. So our signs are different. So we're going to subtract. We have 3/4 minus 1/2. Well, when we add or subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. So 2 and 4 have 4 in common. So I'm going to make them both 4. So 1/2 will become 2/4, right? Because 2 to get to 4, we have to multiply by 2. And whenever we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator to keep it equal. So 1/2 is 2/4, and 3/4 just stays 3/4. So now we have 3/4 minus 2/4, so we're going to subtract the numerators. 3 minus 2 is 1, and keep the denominator. So we have 1/4, and it's already simplified. Now we need to know the sign. Well, 3/4 is larger than 1/2, and 3/4 is positive, so our answer is positive. So positive 1/4. Number 3, we have a word problem. It says, during the hottest week of the summer, the water level of the Muscat River was 5-6 foot below normal. The following week, the level was 1/3 foot below normal. What is the difference between the water level during the hottest week compared to the following week? So since it asks us for the difference, we're going to go in the order they told us. So the hottest minus the following week. So during the hottest week, it said, so the hottest week, it said 5-6. feet below normal. So 5'6", and that was below normal, so that's a negative, minus the following week was 1/3 foot below normal. So since it's below normal, it's going to be negative, and it was 1/3. So now we have our number sentence that matches the word problem, negative 5'6" minus negative 1/3. We have a double negative. We have a minus a negative 1/3, so we need to make that one big positive. So now we have a negative 5'6" and a positive 1/3. Those are different, so we're going to subtract. So on the side, we can do 5'6" minus 1/3. Well, we need a common denominator. So 3 and 6 have 6 in common. To get from 3 to 6, we multiply by 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. And then 5'6" stays 5'6". So now we do 5'6" minus 2'6". 5 minus 2 is 3. Keep the denominator 6. 3, 6 can be simplified. They can both be divided by 3 to get 1/2. So our answer is 1/2. And our larger number is 5'6", which is negative, so our answer is negative. So the difference between the water level during the hottest week compared to the following week is negative 1/2 feet below normal. All right. Negative 1/2 feet or foot below normal. All right, to end today's lesson, you're going to try 1 through 3, and then when you're ready, hit continue so you can check your answers. Okay, take a moment to pause the video and check your answers with mine. If you got one wrong, try again or check your work with my work. So number 1 was negative 7.7, number 2 is 2 7/9, and number 3, before Wawa, she owed, so negative owed $2.25. All right, you had the total amount she owed minus what she already owed before Wawa to get how much she owed after Wawa. That's it for today. Have a good one.